Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. In Toledo, we had a wet, rainy day, beautiful for ducks, I guess. We are holding weekly disability roundtables, Thursdays at 10 o'clock, where we talk to community leaders about issues that impact folks with disabilities. This morning we have with us Kim Dunham. Kim is the new-ish general manager of TARTA, and we very enthusiastically welcome Kim to our community. I know that people have been wowed by your enthusiasm, and it's a great injection of energy into our public transit system. Kim, we have some questions we'd like to go through for the community. Specifically, we're interested in how the impact on public transportation impacts folks with disabilities. So I thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Tim. And I want to thank you. You humble me with your kind words, but you and your team are such phenomenal leaders in this community on behalf of folks with disabilities. And maybe even before we begin, I'd like everyone on the call to know that I don't know if you're aware of this, but when I interviewed with our board of directors, board of trustees here for this position, they were very thoughtful in bringing other community leaders into the interview process. And Tim was one of 4 outside of TARTA's board of trustees individuals who participated in that process. The chamber also did 2 senior managers and some of our labor leaders. But it was one of the things that really enticed me about the Toledo community is that there was that level of thoughtful consideration about who would like to speak to who the new leader of TARTA was going to be and what the future might look like. So I thank you for your leadership, Tim, and for having me today. Thank you.
Thank you again. Kim, reflect on your first few months in the role as leader of TARTA. How's it been going?
So a few people have referred to it as drinking from a fire hose. So imagine, coming to a community by yourself, following my passion. My deepest passion is public transit and what a great transit system can do to change people's lives and for workforce development and economic development and really access, right? Access and mobility, doors of opportunity. I think we all know that TARTA needed complete transformation. I've spent when I arrived, I spent a lot of time, it's an intentional part of my leadership style is to engage with our people because our people matter, right? Our own staff. I was on the floor a lot, meeting with them, asking questions. This is part of what helps me understand what we need here. So that was December. And honestly, I will talk more about it. We need to do lots of things. The list is very long. It doesn't bother me. I relish a challenge. And I know that when we climb this mountain, we're going to be very, very pleased with the outcome. And then COVID hit. Imagine trying to be a new leader where we had had financial issues, and that was a challenge that didn't allow us to maybe purchase things that we should have, invested in our infrastructure, whether that's our buildings and or our vehicles. We are lacking technology that's very common for other systems of our size in other parts of the country. And we don't have enough staff, I'll be honest. We need to expand. I know many of your your folks have talked to me about, being concerned about our drivers and how, particularly on the TARP service, how many hours they work. So we really have to touch everything here and work on improvement. But hiring more drivers is a mission critical priority for me. And maybe COVID gave us a little, even though it was challenging, it gave us a little bit of a chance to pause and correct some things here. So I can talk more about that, but we've been able to do that over the last 6 weeks.
How has the TARTA and TART service been impacted as we all work together to stop the spread of coronavirus?
So I'll talk about TARPs first. We've had about an 85% decline in demand, in service demand for TARPs. TARTA was out in front. We were the first Ohio public transit system to enact fare-free rear door boarding and facial covering. It was kind of easy for me because I haven't been here a long time, things were very clear to me. Like, we have to protect our drivers and we have to protect our clients. How can we do that? And so making those decisions with my team, we have daily calls, was very simple. And we asked our riders to, and people pivoted very quickly to help, to take essential trips only. So we also saw probably an 80% decline. It's fluctuated. It was probably higher in the beginning of COVID, decline in fixed route ridership. The facial covering request, right, was a very, very interesting process to roll out. And Lucas County Health Department worked closely with us from the onset of that decision. It was very helpful for them to help us on a local level make that public safety decision. They helped us with messaging. We were strategic about working with the press and with labor leaders in our own agency and peer entities like yours that helped us get the word out on social media. We actually, our first social media post on March 19th, that on March 20th, we were requesting essential trips only and Saturday or level 3 service. Our social media post that day it didn't reach it that day, but over time, 31,000 people in the Toledo community. And that was incredible because a high volume social media post for TARTA historically has been about 1,500 people.
No.
So imagine there were like 570 shares, 31,000 people, which tells you it told me how important that message was, that TARTA service was going to change, because it probably is a lifeline for many and a door of opportunity for others that they otherwise wouldn't have. So I thought that was very, very powerful.
So what are the current requirements for TARTA and TARPS riders? Where are we at now?
So we remain fare-free on fixed route rear door boarding. We've moved the standee line, although I say rear door boarding unless you require to enter via the front of the bus, because you either have a mobility device or you need the driver to kneel the bus. We moved the standee line about 6 to 8 feet back with a sign and a bungee, just sort of asking for that social distancing between riders and the driver. We do have 10 or fewer individuals on fixed line with shadow service. So we have other buses poised and ready on our highest capacity corridors to, once the 11th rider, whether it's at the hub or on the line, once there's an 11th rider, there's another bus right behind to start loading. On TARPs and on fixed route, we are asking all riders to wear facial covering to cover their nose and mouth. And again, our messaging was very important in the beginning. It was important to me that we not make it forced or we didn't talk about enforcement or banning people. You know, like it was an intentionally softer message to ask people for their safety to please cover their nose and mouth. And our team was able to get supplies, and through the city of Toledo and Lucas County, we've gotten many masks and bandanas so that, and I think this is pretty great. So if a rider doesn't have facial covering, the driver has something that they can walk back to that standee line, right, the bungee, and place the facial covering there, return to their seat, and then the rider can get it. So there's no barriers to this. We've only had one person in all of the time since April 10th, like vehemently refused to wear facial covering. And then we just dealt with that as a code of conduct issue as we would for anything else. So again, I think that speaks to the community being willing. They understand the value of transit and being willing to do that to protect themselves and others. And on TARPs, we're trying to keep social distancing as best we can. Every day is a new day. I get statistical data every afternoon and find out what yesterday looked like, and our team will keep me apprised. Like if we need to start bringing in more staff to put more vehicles on the road so there are fewer riders, that it's something we're looking at every single day. And again, asking for facial covering on our TARP service.
So with regard to TARPs, the destinations are primarily medical?
So we're not allowed under the ADA to restrict for trip purpose.
Right. I'm just saying what's your use right now?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, to tell you the truth, because we don't track trip purpose because we're not able to deny based on it. I don't know the answer to that question. I certainly could find out from my team and get it to you if you'd like.
No. Listen, Kim, part of the energy behind today's webinar is to talk about the future of TARTA and what TARTA is looking at as far as reinventing itself for this community. So I would like to suggest that we go ahead and show your new video, and then we can have more conversation.
Great.
Lisa?
We're reimagining TARTA and excited about the opportunity to move the system and our region forward. Today, we find ourselves at an important crossroads, giving us an incredible opportunity to reinvent together. Our community, customers, and businesses need a public transit system of the future. Currently, TARTA runs on a hub-and-spoke system. That means every fixed route line comes in and goes out of downtown Toledo, requiring riders to transfer. This model no longer fits our community's transportation needs. In addition, our region is preparing for economic and population changes. To achieve success, Northwest Ohio must have an effective, efficient, and responsive public transit system. So we're focusing on 5 key areas: improving operational efficiencies, building a mobility ecosystem, focusing on an exceptional customer experience, deploying advanced technologies, and increasing the value to our communities and businesses while enhancing our riders' quality of life and access. Now, keeping those 5 areas in mind, we're going to explore things like multimodal mini-hubs, microtransit on-demand service to low-density and rural areas, and expanded paratransit service areas. Extending hours and locations to meet the needs of employers and our second and third shift workforce. More frequent service on high-demand corridors. Circulators in critical high-traffic areas. building connections within our ecosystem to include things like bikes, scooters, rideshare services, van pools, intercity buses, rail, and more. Enhancing passenger amenities like lighted and heated bus shelters, better wayfinding, and real-time digital signs at bus stops. We'll also deploy more user-friendly technology like Wi-Fi on buses and a more efficient rider app that identifies routes and tracks vehicles in real time. Also, a brand new smart card fare system that lets you purchase fares before you board. TARTA is also building a new executive leadership team, experts who have led bus system redesign and rebranding efforts in other parts of the country. We're excited about all the opportunities that lie ahead as we work with community members and employers to completely redesign a public transit system to carry our region into the future. We look forward to sharing ideas as we reimagine a public transit system that serves many kinds of riders, is a valuable resource for businesses, and helps all of our communities thrive. The future of public transportation in Northwest Ohio is here. Now, get on board and join us as we embark on this transformational journey together.
That's a great video, Kim.
I hope you love it.
It's very aspirational, and you know, having the aspiration behind a public transit system is sort of difficult to do, but you've certainly captured it here. So great job.
Thanks, Tim. And I have to thank our colleagues at Hart Associates and Laura Kaprowski, who just joined our team as Chief Communications and Customer Experience Officer. She, even the week before she began with us, helped work on that project, and Danny Woodcock, our board president. Remarkably, that took only 2.5 weeks to put that together. And we love the concept of, sometimes I'm challenged because I'll start talking about so many things of what the bus system design could look like. And this was a perfect opportunity to kind of put out the thought that let's just clear our minds of what our public transit system looks like right now, and just clear all of it. And let's see what it could become. And it's very modern, and it's not dreaming of a futuristic. Honestly, many of the things you just saw in that video, whether it's technology deployment or enhanced passenger amenities or the smart card technology, real-time data. Like when I had the pleasure of meeting with Cater before COVID, I talked about, my experience is in paratransit. I've been 30 years in the transit industry, and I worked for 2 paratransit systems. So high quality, best in class quality transportation system for people with disabilities is like a huge priority for me. And we shouldn't be going backwards. We should be moving forward. So I had shared with that group that in New Haven, we did some things like we deployed an app for our ADA riders. It was an app and a web portal that allowed for clients to reserve and cancel their rides, right? Like self-service, and also track their individual ride as soon as the pickup window began. So think about all of the operational efficiencies and the convenience to the customer. And when we talk about exceptional customer service, that's where we need to be headed, not just taking small incremental steps to see how we can improve. I'm ready to go all the way, like as fast as we can, because that's what we need to do here, is really what we need to do.
Right. So you just had a very successful renewal levy. Congratulations on that. Talk about where TARTA goes from here right now.
Okay, thank you. And that wasn't that incredible. Again, COVID, we didn't know what would happen with elections and if people could get the chance to vote. And look at what this community did. 66% plus approval of that property tax renewal investment in TARTA, even during the middle of a national pandemic, was very inspiring to me. That just added another layer to say, this community believes in public trans. You asked me earlier about sort of what the experience has been since I arrived, and I've been working really hard to repair relationships that needed to be repaired, frankly, so that people know TARTA is listening, right? And what has been occurring is not acceptable, and having very candid conversation about investment in public trans and what we could do with that. So we're busy right now, and when you sent me the list of questions, you used a great term. It said, you're not wasting any time moving forward. And we're not. We're continuing our efforts to educate our municipal councils about what you just saw in the video, right? The future of TARTA and what they could expect if they give us the opportunity to put our sales tax levy, which again is initiate sales tax, but repeal the 2 existing property taxes of 2.5 mil. But to put the sales tax levy on the November ballot and what that could do for our community. So we're in the midst of virtual meetings every week. Well, it has been every week for the last 3 weeks, but you know, my goal is by June, the end of June, we have successfully obtained the approval, and I do believe it's going to happen, of every one of our 7 jurisdictions to allow Lucas County to join TARTA. And I feel very confident that this is going to happen this time, November 2020, and we're going to move this thing forward.
Wow. Again, the energy level over there is impressive, Kim. Seriously.
Thank you.
So with the new TARTA, how can folks help out?
Well, I think if you could share, I mean, there's certainly a citizens group assembling, and I need to be cautious, but you know, that people could join it to help support. Just everyone's general support. I'll be honest, almost everyone I've spoken with has, you know, people could have spent time sort of talking about the past and what the problems are, but I think to your point, they see the candor and transparency and drive to get us to a different place. So I appreciate that people have allowed me to use my energy, not to kind of speak about the past and all of that, but to start getting us moving forward. And I know you asked earlier, I may not have elaborated, but like some of the things that have already happened just since December. And I don't even know if you all are aware, the Sunday paratransit service that you helped get private contributions for. Our team worked together with Federal Transit Administration to use mobility management money to match the private. And the original cost share was 80% local. I'm sorry, the original was 50% federal, 50% local. But FTA worked together with us so that FTA is incurring 80% of our Sunday service costs. And we're only using 20% of local funds. I apologize for the wrong calculation. But so that helps us spread the private contributions to Sunday for a longer period of time. So we fully anticipate Sunday paratransit service will remain in place through July of 2021, which is when the new sales tax levy money is expected to begin. So that timing is great, right? We're looking at our assets. We have 191 revenue vehicles, 142 of which have exceeded their useful life. That's completely unacceptable. And we have a short-term plan whereby we're gonna try to purchase some buses that have remaining useful life in them. And at the same time, be aggressive about finding new funding for bus replacement. So in April, TARTA submitted a $30 million grant application, competitive grant application to FTA to purchase replacement buses. And I'm pleased to tell you, we received 23 letters of support from federal, state, and local officials, business partners, community leaders such as yourself. And the Ohio DOT also, after I briefed them on the situation at TARTA, provided us with $7.5 million in toll revenue credits to match that grant ask. And I'm very confident also that when our grant application is read, TARTA will be the recipient of, I'm hoping for all $30 million, that we would be notified this fall. And we also have ourselves teed up with Dayton RTA, had 40 open options on a Gillig bus bid. So we are teed up when we get the grant approval to put a bus procurement in and get that started. So that's just one example of how we're going to be doing business here. We're not going to wait until November to see if it happens or it doesn't. And we're going to have staff teed up. We're going to have bids teed up. We're going to have condition assessment of our assets done by an outside entity so that we have the roadmap, right? That will be the document that tells us we must invest. We must buy more paratransit vehicles. We have to be smart and diversify our fleet. In New Haven, we undertook an intentional vehicle diversification plan. So we had caravans, for instance, in our fleet. We had SUVs. We had 8-passenger transit vehicles, right? So that we don't necessarily need a large cutaway bus to handle all of our paratransit service. And think about how we can save money when we make the bus buy, right? So maybe we can buy more buses. Then we save, there's fuel efficiency associated with that. And honestly, sitting in the back of a cutaway vehicle with the lift rattling is not what that, when we talk about customer experience, that's not the most enjoyable customer experience.
Right.
And so this is the type of person I am. I want to see things through my staff's eyes. I want to see it through our riders' eyes. Now that Laura's joined, and think of her title, Communications and Customer Experience. One of her her lead tasks is she's going to get involved in every aspect of TARTA that touches our customers and give feedback and recommendations of how it needs to be improved.
Wow.
I could go on forever, Tim.
No,
I could.
It's a very exciting time, and I certainly appreciate you meeting with us today. Two cleanup items, Kim, is number one, we're not going to open this up for questions, but how can people get a hold of TARTA if they have questions?
So let's see. I do need to find out our main phone number. Isn't that embarrassing? I'm sorry, and I've never called it before. So, but I do believe it's 1-419-243-RIDE, RIDE. If you want to talk to customer service reps or information officers. If you want to call me, I'm happy to give out my number. It's 419-245-5222. I will tell you that most often my staff can help better, but if anyone wants to just chat about the future or give great ideas, I'd love to talk to them. You know, and visit our website, www.tarta.com. Check out our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, there's a lot of activity happening. So, and we try to keep it updated daily and relevant and exciting, so.
Thank you, Kim. For the audience, you need to know that, you know, TARTA staff really can't be involved in, political issues like a levy or tax levy. So we're going to pretend that Kim's not here. And I want to encourage you to visit votefortarta.com. And if you're passionate about these issues and you see the potential of where TARTA is going, go there to get involved. Again, that's votefortarta.com. Kim, thank you once again. We truly appreciate you being here, and hopefully as time passes, we'll be able to have you back for some additional updates.
Thank you, Tim, for the opportunity and for all of your support. I'm really looking forward to the future. I think it's going to be awesome.
Thanks again. Thank you, everybody. Bye.